Good morning, it's Friday, January 30th, 2026. I'm meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with a look at your Canadian Prairie weather story. Near-term weather risks, where is the snow? Folks from the Canadian Prairies all the way down through the northern high plains and the upper Midwest of the United States wondering where is the snow? When are we going to finally get some big lows rolling through the region with a big wide accumulating snow swath instead of these clippers that come through with just a very light dose of snow that blows around a bit out there? And unfortunately, the next 7 to 10 days, I have no change for you. We got colder temperatures in the east, minus 30 across portions of central and southern Alberta this morning. Bitterly cold, dangerously cold in some areas. Bit more mild as you head off toward the west. Even some areas of southern Alberta above freezing this morning. It is cold out east, but we've got this stubborn, persistent pattern that just continues to persist stubbornly. We're going to see a warm up this weekend into next week. Mild conditions thanks to a big area of high pressure right here, and that big area of high pressure continues to be the problem with the pattern across North America, at least a very big part of that problem. Your last 10 days of precipitation observed across the Canadian prairies down into the U.S. You see the big winter storm that got folks from Texas into New England across the U.S. A lot of snow, a lot of ice over the last 7 days across those areas. But looking toward the prairie, you can only find a couple of locations here. Saskatoon down to Regina that picked up 1/10 of an inch here. That probably amounted to a few centimeters of easy to blow around snow, but a real lack of a significant snowpack across this region. You can see that here, current snow depth. There's the big winter storm off to the south across portions of the southern, central, and eastern U.S. The Great Lakes have certainly seen plenty of snow, as has eastern Canada, along with, high elevations of British Columbia thanks to an early run of storm systems out there. But this big persistent high continues to really block up the pattern across North America. So, the Canadian prairies through the northern plains, the Intermountain West, the Rocky Mountains, a huge lack of seasonal snowfall. We take a look at the infrared satellite picture here. We put things into motion. You can see a couple features, one of which is the big ridge here. You see the flow coming up over the top of that ridge. And then a big persistent Hudson Bay trough, Great Lakes trough, and a lobe of the weakened and displaced polar vortex continuing to flirt with this region and really impacting the eastern U.S. and eastern Canada significantly over the next 5 to 7 days. But a ridge to the west and a trough to the east is going to give us northwesterly flow across the prairies, and that is a very dry, at times colder in the east pattern across the region this time of year. The radar this morning, crystal clear. You maybe find a couple flurries here or there, but just about everyone dry and quiet here on this Friday morning. One more look at temperatures here again. Minus 30 in Winnipeg. That's no joke. It is cold out there. Minus 13 to minus 20 as you go from Saskatoon down toward Regina, but then Edmonton over toward Alberta, getting ever closer to the freezing mark. And it is going to be quite mild in those areas as we head into next week. I'll animate the temperatures through the weekend. You can see this push of mild air trying to expand from the south and west across the prairie with the kind of colder air persisting in the east. That is really the theme over the next 7 days. The further east into Canada yet, the colder it will be, and the further west across Canada that you go, it's going to be a much more mild pattern. Over the next 4 to 5 days, nothing but clipper systems rolling up over the top of that high, bringing in light doses of precipitation, maybe some blustery winds along with them, but overall fairly low impact clippers. We'll animate this and just zoom out because the pattern stays the same the next 10 days. Clipper after clipper after clipper running through the region. You see a bit of a change here kind of advertised by the European model toward the end of the run, and I have zero faith in this, how this is going to evolve, so I'm not going to really even spend much time talking about it. Don't even really want to show you here, but maybe the chance we develop an area of low pressure here in the western U.S. and get a couple systems to run through here. But right now, this does not look like a major pattern change to me. This does not look like something that is going to suddenly bring in heavy snow to a big part of the prairie as we get into mid-February. It's maybe something to keep an eye on. I have very little trust in it, and I'll show you why that is here in a moment. Your next 10 days, snowfall, nothing across central and southern Alberta into southwestern Saskatchewan, and maybe trace amounts as you head further east into Manitoba from there. Again, clipper after clipper after clipper after clipper over the next 10 days, bringing light doses of snow. Very low impact when it comes to precipitation, as dryness continues to be a theme from the prairies down into the northern plains of the United States and the Intermountain West. I mean, we desperately need some snow across the central Rockies of the U.S., parts of Colorado, and there is just almost nothing forecast over the next 10 days. Now, if I throw on the entirety of the remainder of that run, the next 5 days or so, taking it out to February 14th, you do see some snow stacking up across the Rockies. You still see a huge gap, though, across southern Alberta into southwestern Saskatchewan. And, even the snow across the Rockies that you're seeing south of the prairies, I have very little faith in that. But there it is, 15 days worth of forecast there, and essentially no snow across central and southern Alberta into much of the prairie as far as southern Saskatchewan is concerned. As I show you the Ensemble forecast here, this is the deterministic run. So this is your one run from the European model, and this is your Ensemble suite where we run this 100 plus times and get kind of an average or theme out of this. And it says the same thing. Where the active storm track is across the northern portions of the prairie provinces, have a better chance of 15 to 30 centimeters of snow. But across the prairie, very little opportunity for snow as we go all the way through the middle of February, thanks to this persistent ridge of high pressure that just continues to reinforce itself. There you see some change. That would be, one of the things I would be looking for is we need to get some troughing in western North America. The problem is, so here it is, the big high blowing up. We're at February 4, 5, 6. That's going to be a mild pattern, especially across Alberta. A little bit colder in the eastern part of the prairie there. Still not snowy. We get out here February 9, 10, 11, 12. Here's where that trough is developing, but we still have this massive high over low, what we call kind of a Greenland block, and this really big trough over the northern Atlantic with all this fast flow. So this is not going to set us up with, big southwest flow and storm systems rumbling from Colorado north into the Great Lakes, bringing you some big snow across the prairies. This is, we get a trough out here. I don't even know if that will really manifest, but as it is, this is not the correct alignment. This is not what I'd be looking for. You still essentially have northwest flow across the prairies. And as we look at the Pacific Ocean here, and specifically kind of honing in on this corridor right here, you see these fast winds of the jet across the Pacific. You see how it races across toward Hawaii, and then it just continues to hit this block across western North America. We keep blowing this bubble. I'll let it play one more time. Here you see it. See it again. Big bubble of high pressure. Do it again. Big bubble of high pressure. And then toward the end, we kind of just, lose it as we kind of get further out into the forecast period. We lose kind of the confidence there. And I'll show you what's going on here with another look at the ensembles, where we're looking at the location of high and low pressure here as the ensembles have it. And this gives us kind of an idea of, are we getting, a lot of members that say we're going to get this transition? Do we have a lot of agreement here? I'll kind of run it out here into February 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, still dealing with this big area of high pressure and just little lows kind of riding over that, little clipper systems. It's as we get into, and you see the clippers come over here, they just reinforce this big trough over, the North Atlantic. It's just, I'm frustrated with this pattern, to be completely transparent with you. I'm a little bit of a cranky weather guy today. So we get out here to February 10th, 11th, and 12th, and we're starting to see the models go after some areas of low pressure here, some troughing. Certainly something to watch, but not very strong agreement in, where and when this is going to happen. And the way that it happens is not something that gives me a lot of confidence. It's not a big trough that comes punching in and changing up the pattern. We're stuck with this ridge. You see it right there. I'm going to pause this as we get to February 6th. Here's your huge ridge, your northwest flow. This is the same pattern, 10 days out. And now we just get these little troughs. It's kind of bit by bit. The models kind of want to, let's maybe phase two of these together. Let's bring another one in here from the Pacific. And just by stacking up these little lows, kind of in aggregate, get a bigger trough going. But this, first of all, 15 days out in the model forecast run, not really ideal to be getting into specifics here. But this is not a big, deep trough with a ridge out toward the east that would make me think we're going to be doing organized southwest flow. This is just kind of a bit of a weird wonky run where you see all these little spokes, all these little short waves that kind of make up that bigger trough. And I almost feel like it's just an accident that we get to that. It's not a major, pattern shift. And we're still a lot of evidence to believe the polar vortex, the stratospheric polar vortex, is going to remain weakened and displaced here, allowing some lobes of bitterly cold air to sink down into the Great Lakes, parts of eastern Canada, down into the eastern and southeastern U.S. And as long as we keep this warm west, cold east bias, we're going to be in a pretty bad trajectory for precipitation. So that's the depressing update that I have for you. I'm not going to spend more time on it. I will spend the rest of my, next week looking for any sort of confidence in when this pattern may break down. But right now, I don't know when it's going to be. It's certainly not between now and the middle of February. So your temperatures here in Calgary, your highs and lows over the next 10 days, pretty mild. More, mild than it is down here in the Midwestern U.S. You guys are literally warmer than we are in the central United States thanks to this very wonky pattern. Edmonton, same thing. You're warmer than I am here down in the state of Illinois. Regina, you'll be a little closer to the freezing mark here for your highs as you deal with some of the impacts of these clippers, and same for you in Saskatoon. Even more dramatic in Winnipeg. You guys are feeling the cold here from these clippers, but it would certainly be nice if it's going to be cold if you could have some snow with that as well. And that is unfortunately not going to be the case. Death by clippers, cold air, very light doses of snow. This western U.S. and western North America ridge just continues to really block up the pattern. We need a fundamental change in the behavior of the Pacific Jet at this point. We have some reason to believe that could happen with that La Nina to El Nino transition, but that is often a frustratingly long wait, and it seems to be that is manifesting. So those of you who are watching, hoping I was going to say snow is coming, apologies. If you like the warm weather, thumbs up. Talk to you again a week from today.